ToyTractorTimes.com is at the 2013 St. Louis Farm Toy Show, and we are with the winner of the display contest, and it is one of the most impressive displays that we've come across ever at a toy show. So we'll let you introduce yourself.
Okay, my name's Seth Eberhardt, and this is my model of Mediapolis Feed, Grain, and Supply.
And it's 1/16 scale, which is a massive project.
That's right. This building is located in Mediapolis, Iowa. It's still standing today. The main elevator here was built in 1956. Pretty much just grain storage in this whole section. It was set up with a corn sheller below the pit for ear corn, or also shelled grain could be unloaded. The grain would be unloaded in this area and go up the leg into the very top where it's distributed into the bins.
So did that work kind of like a Minneapolis Moline sheller, but it was just in the building then?
Pretty much, yeah. Yep, the same type of machine, just inside.
That is impressive. Now what is, I guess just look at this. This is a lift or a crane to lift the wagon up to.
Yep, this is a wagon hoist. Before wagons had hydraulics, that's the way they were picked up to dump. You'd unhook from the tractor and just lift up just like you see here. And of course, once hydraulics became more popular, that became obsolete. What you see up above here is different bins. After the corn went through the sheller, it went up through the inside through a cleaner, which is inside this corner. The cobs would go down this chute into this bin. The dust was collected into the dust collector into this bin. And then clean grain could go into either these bins or a few different other bins inside the building. Behind it, we have the mill, which was added in 1959. This is where all the grain was ground, mixed, whatever needed to be done to turn it into feed. This is the mixer here, where all the feed was mixed. From there, it could either be sacked into individual sacks or loaded directly into a truck. Grain could also be dumped in here to go directly into the mill. That's another dump pit. These are just storage bins for mixed feed. Moving on, this next section was originally used as flat storage for ear corn. Was eventually converted into a warehouse and office. In the warehouse, I have 250 feed sacks that I made, which is just feed that was ground in the mill and sold individually.
Purina brand.
That's right, they were a Purina dealer. And then just the office. Just have like a manager's office here. The counter with the weigh scale. I made pretty much everything you see in here except for some of the little things.
Even a Pepsi Cola machine?
I made that. And of course you have the scale out front.
You even have the scale inside the...
Yeah, that's the scale that was used to weigh trucks and tractors inside there. Moving around, you can just see more of the same section of the building.
New loading dock?
Yep.
Rail as well?
Yeah, I believe there's a bag feed that could be loaded or unloaded into box cars here. Then also grain could be loaded into a car from the main elevator too.
I like how you even have a gumball machine and adding machine on there.
Yeah. I found those at the dollhouse store and just couldn't pass them up.
It is great detail. Looks like there's even a calendar on the wall maybe in the
1960.
office.
I could have pointed out too, on the bulletin board on this wall, I have grain prices which I researched and are accurate for 1960. I believe the corn was $1.09 and I think the soybeans were $2.04 if I remember right.
Yep, $1.09 corn, $2.04 beans, 64-cent oats.
Yep, accurate for 1960. It's got all working doors and sliding doors.
And there's even fire extinguishers, first aid.
Yep, you gotta keep everything in mind. Just have like a workshop in this corner here. Tools, a spare electric motor.
And there's a first aid kit.
Yep.
Now this looks like on the back side we get into some very complex building and operations.
Yeah. This of course is the mill again. Trying to decide where to even start with. Like I said, all the feed was ground and mixed in here. Grain could either be brought in from the storage area down this chute, or like I said, could be dumped in a dump pit in the drive-through.
I think there's even a few cobwebs up in there.
Genuine. Yep.
And now there's even an elevator here for the...
Yep, the man lift. That was how you get to the top. Let's see, I guess to start out in the basement, there's a hammer mill in the basement. Some grain would go into there to be ground. From the hammer mill, it would go into the blower behind it, which would blow it all the way up this pipe through the top of the building into a bin where it could then be distributed into storage bins. Other grain might go through the roller mill, which you see sitting right back there, which eventually would just go back up the leg and distribute it into storage bins.
I like that there's even a ledger and a clipboard.
Yep. Like I said, as I mentioned, some of the feed would be sacked individually, which is what you see here. The feed could be filled directly out of those bins.
So what is the device on the floor there?
That's a sewing machine.
Okay.
Back years ago, the bags had to be tied shut by hand with twine, and then the sewing machine came along, which I've been told was quite a lifesaver for the guys that used to have to do that.
A lot of internal storage here.
Yeah, this is just different. It could be ground feed or different components, just whatever they needed the storage for.
I really like how you have all the electrical switches.
Yeah, there's a tremendous amount of electrical equipment in there. This corner that this electrical equipment is mounted on looks like just a concrete wall, but that corner of the basement is actually a molasses tank. There's a pump right around the corner there, and molasses would be pumped up in the mixer that would be added to some of the feed that was ground. And of course, in the very corner, you just see the bottom of the leg. That about covers all the equipment in the mill then.
We can see everything. I mean, it's just amazing.
Walkways and...
Now we get into the massive superstructure of the
yeah, this is
grain.
Pretty much just grain storage. I know later in the life of the elevator, pretty much all the grain was eventually just used in the mill for feed, so it would eventually just be transferred. But it could eventually be unloaded into a truck and hauled out if it needed to be.
How many bushels of grain would a building like this hold?
This section held about 64,000 bushel, which by today's standards really isn't much. I mean, that's one or maybe two good-sized bins, which would make this building.
There's a lot of engineering and craftsmanship to build this.
It's and the way it's built is 2x6s stacked flatways on top of each other, all the way up to the top. It's just an absolutely tremendous amount of lumber in this building, in the real building. And they're just massive beams. It's just an amazing piece of architecture. And down inside, of course, there's the main leg, which of course brings the grain up to the top. The other man lift beside it. This is a scale that can be used to weigh out grain for feed.
So you can see the bottom of the bins were slanted.
Yeah, they were sloped. There's a long cross auger that runs the whole length of the building. The bins would empty into that cross auger, which would take the grain back to the leg, and that could be sent to wherever it needed to be.
And this must be the main leg then up here?
Yeah, that's the top of the leg. You can see the distributor there.
And I imagine you said it would get so dusty that you'd need a stick to do that.
It's full of cobwebs. There's a wheel down at the bottom of that leg that you turn that rotates that spout on the distributor to whichever spout you need to line up with. Let's see, and then back in this corner is the cleaner that I mentioned from when we were on the other side. The shelled corn would go through the cleaner, which would separate the clean grain from the cobs and the dust. Of course, these are just all the spouts that fill the individual bins, and a cross auger to fill these farther bins.
Now with these, I guess one question that comes to mind is the way all these boards are stacked. Were they nailed together then one on top of each other? Or?
Yeah, I believe so. I said it's just a tremendous amount of wood, but with all that grain, there's a tremendous amount of pressure on these walls, and it took a lot of wood to hold up to it.
And then I guess on this side, I wanted to ask, looked like there was another basement area or motor down in here.
Yeah, this is the motor that runs the cross auger that I mentioned. It's the auger that empties all these bins. And yeah, this is just where the motor sits that drives that auger.
And then you have I guess a safety ladder here for.
Yeah, this would just be like an alternate way to the top. There's, of course, the 2-man lifts and also ladders inside, and it's just be an additional ladder.
That looks like a tar paper roof.
Yep. And the roof vents.
Well, this is an amazing build. I mean, how many years or months have you been working on this?
It was about 780 hours, which was a little less than 2 years. I really enjoyed building it. It got a little monotonous at times, putting tin on and stacking boards, but it was a lot of fun at the same time. I really enjoyed it.
It's something that belongs in a museum because unfortunately these are something that are disappearing from our landscape and our history.
And I mean, just learning the history of the building and how it works has been just as much fun as actually building it.
Now, I imagine you're going to visit the real one and take a lot of photos?
Yeah, I spent a lot of hours in the real one. And yeah, took about 200 pictures and probably 50 pages of drawings and measurements.
And actually, I guess we'll show our viewers here that you have the pictures of the real one.
Yeah.
So how close it is.
Yep, this is as it stands today. These pictures were taken about a month ago.
Well, thank you very much for bringing this and kind of being the star of the show and sharing this great talent.
I've definitely enjoyed it. That's all the fun of having is being able to share it.
Well, thank you. I think I'll take one more walk around it and try to get it all on the screen. It's so big.
All right.
Thank you, Seth.
Thank you.
It's all a matter of finding somebody to follow. I've been 17 years ever.
All right.
Started out running the feed mill, then that came died. Then I went to the feed mill, the feed tractor. Then they moved me in the grain. I fill ground cars, do everything, run the dryers. I even fill in hydro tanks. We do about everything, sprays. And after you set it, I work in the elevator, and I better get down here.
Oh, yeah. Well, a lot of people, it brings back memories.
My dad done all his life. He picked up milk, he said, "You want to do that," and then he went to work for the elevator, and he worked outside. Nice. I think it probably wasn't for you, Jason, to get in.
Yeah. About what time you'll leave? I don't know. I'll probably leave later in the morning. I don't know if you want to start loosening your stuff out.
The reason I asked about
I'll stop looking for it.
okay, maybe I'll like Overman stuff. That's one thing about it.
I'll just bring my car back up.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll do that. No, 10 or 11. Oh, 10. Yeah. If I feel those two I can fill them all.
All right. 300 rail cars sold, and there's still more. Memorial Day, and the drainage.
How many farmers lost their land over
Okay.
That's a sad thing.
And the sad part of it is, it don't seem to slow it up. 2 counties over from me, they sold one the other day, 17,000.